So Piers Morgan interviewed the woman from Baby Reindeer. Welcome to Shit of the Week. So Baby Reindeer, if you don't know, is a massive show on Netflix. I think it's the most popular show on Netflix currently. It follows Richard Gadd as Donnie through his life of being stalked by a person called Martha, whose real name is Fiona. Now in this show, you can see that he has been abused by this person and multiple others, and it's all a true story. Now when I watched this, I thought it was pretty fucked up. So did a lot of people. In fact, it's one of the only shows I've seen that actually show abuse given to men by the other sex and the same sex, and it really highlights the fact that it doesn't get spoken about enough. Now that being said, I think it's very brave of Richard Gadd to come out and show his story to the world. You know, Netflix is pretty popular, and fair play to him for it getting so popular. I'm glad that people enjoy it. But recently, Piers Morgan decided to interview the woman that is portrayed as Martha in the show, whose real name is Fiona Harvey. Now obviously the interview is to tell whether she's lying or not, because she claims that none of this has ever happened. Like, she didn't stalk him, she didn't send him hundreds and hundreds of emails, she didn't touch him inappropriately without his consent, and she's not a psychopath. But the interview is kind of strange because she's clearly lying the whole entire time.
Were you ever in love with him?
Yes. Is that a serious question?
Did you go to jail? Did you have a trial?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Have you ever been to prison?
No.
Have you ever been charged with a
Nowhere
criminal
near it.
offence?
No.
Never?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
By his own admission, he has said that he led you on at times. And he clearly
I gave him the brush off. He asked me to sleep with him with a big green spot in his face one day. I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested.
He asked you to do what?
He asked me to sleep with him. He said, would I like my curtains fixed? And I laughed. And he said, that's a euphemism. Do you want me to come home with you? And I said, I've got a boyfriend. I gave him the brush off. Big time, I think. You know, subtly so, but the bottom line is, I think this is behind him. No, I didn't fancy him.
If anything, this interview has made her look like a worse person than is portrayed in the show, because she's dishonest. In this whole interview, she's kind of trying to sway the opinion of the public to make them think that Richard Gadd is the psychotic one out of the two in this relationship. And she does a very poor job of doing this.
What do you feel about Richard Gadd?
I think he's psychotic, and I think that anyone going along, being in that play, and doing this to somebody, I find the behaviour outrageous.
He says the whole thing started because he felt sorry for you, and that's why he befriended you.
Your staff said that to me in the waiting room. This is a lot of nonsense. I've got lots of friends.
What did you talk to him about?
It was just a holy arms banter. It was
like what? What kind of thing?
What you're going to do with your life, or, you know, career stuff, you know, sort of. And I thought he was a stand-up show.
She basically goes in circles saying the same thing over and over again, saying it's a load of nonsense, that he didn't befriend her because he felt sorry for her. She has loads of friends. It's like a constant loop over and over again. It's like she's actually told herself that this is the truth. And that happens a lot with people that lie. A lot of people that lie come up with a story in their head and just keep going with it. But you'll notice it's a lie because there's always slight changes. But with Fiona's case, it's kind of easier to pick up because of this line here where she says that she doesn't lie, and then literally maybe not even 5 seconds after that, she says that she occasionally tells a white lie. Now, I don't know if she's just stupid, okay, or just unaware of what she's talking about, but she's kind of just showing her poker face here.
Who is capable of all of these things.
I don't lie, and I tell white lies if I absolutely have to. Like when my 94-year-old ex-neighbour was dying, we all knew she was dying, and I'd phoned her in the hospital the night before, and I lied and said, you know, have a good sleep, everything's going to be fine, and that, you know. So I'll tell a white lie like that when somebody clearly needed some rest.
You can also see that she's very on edge the whole interview. It's like I said, like, liars come up with a story. It's like before she came onto the show, she's come up with a story in her head that she needs to sue all these people, that Richard Gadd's psychotic, that the woman that plays her in the show, her accent seems to differ here and there, because I think she thought she was actually Scottish and not an actor. You know, she's an English actor, which Piers Morgan points out, who puts a Scottish accent on, but Fiona here tried to kind of pass on the subject by saying that her voice changes.
It's not a villain and victim storyline. I think you're left with a lot more than that. It's kind of two lost people.
What's your response to that?
I think they're milking it for all it's worth for the money. She doesn't even sound Scottish in that interview. Her accent seems to be varying.
Well, she's not. She's English. She's an actress.
I was going to say, it sounds more Lancashire to me, yeah.
Which is a common thing that liars do. They kind of try and change subject when someone's talking about something about them. They'll try and pass it on to somebody else to try and kind of, you know, sway their opinion. Now, this is where the issue comes in, okay? And the issue doesn't lie with Fiona Harvey. She's already a terrible person. Everybody knows that. The issue here is Piers Morgan giving her a platform to speak. Now, not being funny, but this person has been accused, right? I'll say the word accused because obviously we haven't got public records of this, even though I think it's true. Accused of some very heinous crimes here, okay? Stalking, being a complete creep, touching somebody without their consent, okay? And then also lying about it all. Not only that, in the show, it's depicted that she's very violent as well, because in one scene she smashes a glass over Richard Gadd's head. Now, I don't know whether that bit's true or not, but the show's pretty fucking brutal. Like, he's very brutally honest with everything, so I'd be surprised if it wasn't true. Now, why do I think this is a bad thing? Well, let's just put it in one way here, okay? If this was a bloke and he got convicted or even accused of the same thing, do you think that news articles, interviewers, and alike are going to get him in a room like they're doing here with Fiona and just interview him like they're a normal person, just trying to get some truth out of them? Do you really think that would happen? No, it wouldn't. So why is it different here? Like, it's actually disgusting to me, right, that Piers Morgan would even think this is a good idea. Now, I know it's probably for the views, which is even more disgusting and scummy. Like, he should know better than that. He's a guy himself. People, especially men, find it very, very hard to come out and talk about their issues. Now, for Richard Gadd to do that was very, very brave. Very brave. He'd done it on a public platform, you know? Netflix of all things. Everybody's seen this show. It's the biggest thing on Netflix right now. He has literally put his chin out there just for some shitty little interviewer to give the accused abuser a platform to speak and kind of try and sway people's opinions. Now, that's disgusting. Now, I don't like Piers Morgan to begin with, but this has just made my hatred for him rise. Now, I know the argument can be said that maybe it's not true. Maybe all this is false and she should have the platform to speak. But if that's the case, then everybody should be allowed, right? And that's not going to happen, is it? People aren't going to be too happy about that one. Now, I think this is all pretty scummy of people, okay? Right? Like, obviously they're doing all this for clout. They're genuinely leeching off of somebody's like fucking abuse story here. It's gross. And I know the same can be said for me making this video, but I'm not doing it to leech. I'm doing it to prove a point here. I'm trying to point out that this is disgusting behavior, and at least I can admit that. Now, is any of that money that he's made here going to go to anybody, like any abuse victims? No, it's going to go straight into his pocket. That's just how it is, or the company he works for. And that's just how sad everything is, you know? Like, you come out with a story, you try and speak your truth, and people just try to prove you as a liar, and then also give your abuser a platform to speak. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I just thought I'd bring this up because I thought it was just disgusting behavior from Piers Morgan, you know? Like, obviously this woman's vile. She should be locked up. She probably was locked up, and I do hope her records come out just to prove that she is bullshitting. Maybe the police should just release that. Maybe it should just be public knowledge, you know? If somebody's gonna lie so much, maybe they should just be outed. But who am I to say? Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe, and comment. New video again in a couple of days. And yeah, take it easy, guys. See you later.
I don't lie, and